I'm bored. Have you heard that from your tween? What to do when tweens are bored. Why do kids get bored?
So many reasons.
You know, in our society, I think it's mostly because kids are really used to being entertained.
Yeah. They only want to do what's fun or what's easy.
And they're used to having people or organizations structure their time for them. So when they are left to their own devices, sometimes they don't even know what to do with that.
And as a play on those words, left to their own devices, I know that I have noticed for myself, I get really antsy in just a matter of minutes and I pull out my phone and I scroll it. We've gotten so used to our devices entertaining us, giving us something to think about so we don't have to be alone with our own thoughts. And remember when you were 11, 12, 13, 14? Some of the thoughts you have aren't that comfortable to be left alone with.
So you want to distract yourself.
You're trying to figure out yourself. You're trying to figure out the way people work and interact. And so that's kind of a tricky time. And so I think a lot of the times kids get bored because they don't want to be left alone to think.
You know, that is a really great point, Vicki, and one that we can compassionately look at as parents, for example. Our children have a thought process that we don't. And I also think that that brings up for us the importance of creating a family culture where we can be still and be quiet. I know I've seen a lot of parents implement quiet time, which I think is brilliant. And it helps to train the kids how to behave at a time when they're not in front of a device or things are not structured for them. What are they going to do? And can we help to train them to use that time a little more appropriately? I think we probably can.
Yeah.
I remember working with a group of kids once where we were talking about being bored and what to do about it. The thing that we implemented, I love this. You had to say this phrase after saying, I'm bored. Here's the phrase. And I take responsibility for that. No, they didn't want to do it.
No, I'm
but
sure.
It was a way to drive home the point. It's really easy when we're bored to expect someone or something to come in and rescue me and make sure that I'm not bored.
Right.
Like the responsibility is outside of me somewhere. So when we add that phrase, and I take responsibility for that, think about what that changes for you. If you were to say, I'm bored, and I take responsibility for that. Ooh, that stings a little.
Yeah.
It bites, but it empowers us too. Because if you take responsibility for it, what changes in your brain? What changes in your mind when you add that wording to it?
Right. That just kind of turns your brain right on so that you can start to do something about the situation.
The contrast is, I'm bored, shut her down.
Versus, I'm bored and I take responsibility. So...
What am I going to do next?
Right.
What if we were to team up with our kids on this boredom thing and offer collaboration instead of instruction? I think default for parents is, I'm going to tell my kid how to handle this.
Well, first of all,
solve it.
You could go back to the way my mother handled it. I never told her I was bored because that means here's the chores to do. Did you have the same mom?
It triggered painful memories for me too. And Mom, she was dialed into something here because she understood that if she could make it less pleasant for me to declare that I'm bored as if I want somebody else to fix that, that I might start to solve my own problem around that because she had a list. Now, I think lists are helpful.
Oh, definitely.
And there's two that I have in mind. Are you tracking this as well? Going back to this idea of collaboration versus instruction. What if we were to offer as an intervention to sit down with our child and come up with a list? We're going to brainstorm some things that you can do when you're feeling bored. Let's come up with some ideas together.
Right.
And make an actual list, because the physical list becomes a tool that child can turn to the next time they feel bored.
And this is a collaborative thing. This isn't the chore list that my mom used to come up with.
No, that's the second list. We'll come back to that in just a minute. But the first list, the collaboration list, don't be too quick to suggest everything.
Right.
I've found that when you suggest things to kids, what kind of response do you get?
I feel like they almost never want to do what you suggest, even if
No.
they thought they might have wanted to do it. As soon as you've suggested it, for whatever reason, they don't want to do it.
Hey, adults do this too.
I know.
I sometimes suggest things to my clients and they're like, well, the problem with that is, or the reason that won't work, or I've tried that, and you're going to get that same thing from your kids.
Right.
So rather than doing that, just draw it out from them. They might be like, well, I don't know what I could do. Well, let's see if we can think of some things together.
Right. And, we've talked before in other videos about having a time where the family has family councils or family conversations
Right.
or one-on-one
Part of the
time.
family culture.
Right. So you want to maybe make this list and this collaborative effort during a time when the child isn't feeling bored, right?
Good point.
So you maybe at a
Yes.
different time, you're going to sit down, make a list, and then when the child is bored, I think this is a really important skill is to say, oh yeah, remember that list we made? Maybe you ought to go back and check on that. And I think one of the reasons that this is such an important skill is a lot of the times, even within school, where kids will get to a point where they don't know what to do, and they're just like, and you want to teach them the skill of go and read.
Go to their resources.
Yeah, go back to the sources and see
Right.
what I was supposed to do.
Independently, without being instructed by
Right.
mom to do it.
So I'm not going to tell you what to do or what was on the list. I'm going to encourage you to go look at the list that we made.
Or simply allow them to make a choice of which list we're going to go to. Now, let's go to the second list
Okay.
because we mentioned it but didn't get into it.
Yeah.
You, as a parent, get to make list number 2. And here's how you think about it. What would I appreciate having an 11-year-old servant do for me? This is where my mom taught me this, right? Because anytime I was bored, she had a list
Every time.
of a half a dozen things that she would love to have me do for her. And so the chores or little jobs around the house or things that mom thought were really exciting and interesting, but I, as an 11-year-old boy, was not so interested in all of that. You make your own list. And the power of this, so go back to the example. Your child comes to you and says, I'm bored. We've already done the work of creating 2 lists.
Okay.
And so you can simply say, oh, you're bored. And now there's 2 ways we can handle this. It could be, you just smile. Oh, you're bored. And you give a smile like, oh, that's good news. Right? Now, when mom's smiling, kids are thinking. Mm-hmm. Or,
which list would you like to go to? The one we created of things you want to do, or the ones we created that I want you to do?
I'm good with either one. Okay. This encourages them to think it through a little bit. Mm-hmm. As we like to say, study the situation. Right.
Well, we went back to I'm bored and I take responsibility for it. So You're really helping them take the responsibility.
You could suggest that they go to their list, but they would probably resist that. So I love the opportunity of just giving them a choice. Oh, which list would you like to go to?
That is one of the best tools I've ever used as a mom, as a therapist, as a teacher, is giving a choice. For whatever reason, even when you kind of know there's really only one choice, and that is their list, when you offer 2 choices, it kind of puts the child into this feeling like, oh,
it empowers
I'm an agent. If they feel empowered. And they usually will take responsibility for their choice rather than something that was handed to them.
That's what gives them more control over the situation. And ultimately, that's what they want.
Right.
Even though they're deferring that when they say, I'm bored.
Right.
So we're bringing that responsibility back home and empowering them to actually do it.
We hope you found the content in this video helpful. If you're looking for other answers to questions you've got as a parent, go over to our website. We have lots of information and resources there. Go to drpauljenkins.com and join our community of parents who are empowered to do the best we can.
Standing in the street alone. Her head was down, face locked onto her phone.